Wake Forest gets this win 31-21, ACC clash. Florida State was favored in this game. They were at the crib. A lot of buzz around the program. Jordan Travis, the guy they're super excited about for good reason. He's playing a little bit dinged up, got the brace on the knee, no problem. We keep rolling. And all that happened was Wake Forest came out after Florida State got an early touchdown. They took control of the game. Experienced team coming off an emotional loss last week. They took control of the game. So let's hit on Wake Forest first. I think the experience for Wake Forest is what won this game. You got a freak show wide receiver in A.T. Perry. They were able to run the football when they had to. That slow mesh sort of war on the Florida State defense, and Sam Hartman, as experienced as he is, as talented as he is, he's someone that I think we just need to pay more attention to nationally. I understand he's at a school like Wake Forest. That's not to knock Wake Forest. They just play in the same division as Clemson. And so the Wake Forest brand just doesn't necessarily get some of the other people quite as excited as maybe it should. But Sam Hartman, for my money, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, proved it again yesterday. So that's that. I think the experience of Wake Forest ultimately is what won that game. Don't want to take anything away from them. However, I'm looking at this Florida State team, and I think there's a lot to be encouraged by. You know how we feel about moral victories on this program? We just don't really do them. Moral victories aren't really a thing in the football world, but there are positive takeaways. So you lost the game, that's bad. You got to look that in the mirror and just kind of move forward. But the positive takeaways for Florida State, I think there's a lot of them. The first of which being, they were down 28-7. Think about what you know about Florida State football for the past few years, really since Jimbo Fisher won the national title and eventually went to College Station. Think about the Willie Taggart Florida State. Not to knock Willie Taggart specifically, but just roll with me here. Those programs would have folded. This final score, 31-21, I promise you Florida State 4 years ago probably loses this game by a lot more than 10, to say the least. I mean, it gets ugly. Florida State was down 28-7, composed themselves, went right down the field, threw a touchdown to Micah Pittman. They showed so much grit. And I know it kind of sounds like we're doing the head tap, like, hey, good job, you stayed in it, you kept fighting. We're not doing that so much as I think we want to highlight the culture. The culture of Florida State is headed a different direction. Jared Verse, a guy that was hurt all week, they were not even sure what they would get from him in terms of being available, worked hard to get available, made an impact on this game in limited snaps. A guy like Jared Verse, in my opinion, embodies the switch at Florida State, the switch that Mike Norvell is implementing there. Now, it's great to have a culture and to stay in it when you're undefeated. I mean, that's awesome. Kudos to you. What happens now when you get squeezed, when you take a loss? Because losses, they're not fun, but they do a lot more for you in figuring out who you are than wins do. They got a fork in the road. Mike Norvell, I think, has created some real buy-in. But going forward now, they got a date with Clemson here in the not-too-distant future. Do they allow Wake Forest to beat them multiple times going forward? Do they sort of start to have the whole woe is me, a bunch of me guys in that locker room? Or do they have some maturity about themselves, continue to be bought into the system, to the process, and move forward and do what I think they're capable of doing? Because they got guys. I mean, that sounds simplistic to say. They got guys. They got a guy at quarterback who can do it for them. Jordan Travis, all offseason long, I was saying I need to see it to believe it. I understand there's excitement around him in the fall camp and the spring camp kind of scenarios. I get that. That's cool. 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions a year ago. I hadn't seen it yet. He has proven he is not just a quarterback for him, he is the guy for them. And so I'm excited to see what he does going forward and how he rallies this program, because it starts with him up front. It starts with him leading out front of that program. So again, they lose the game 31-21, but this Florida State team showed me a lot in terms of how they've progressed so far under Mike Norvell. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.